Hey friendos, it's Gattsy from Gattsy on Goosebumps, here to review another Goosebumps book on Gattsy on Goosebumps, the only show in which I read and review every single Goosebumps book from R.L. Stine's original series. Today, we're looking at a very curious title in the original series, and that is Goosebumps number 61, I Live in Your Basement. Pretty gross monster in the front there, I quite like it. I always thought it's meant to look like laundry, because like the washing machine's open. I don't know, but it does sort of resemble something that's mentioned in the book. The tagline is, talk about a monster nightmare. That is terrible, because I don't think I've ever heard someone say, first of all, I don't think talk about a monster I don't think, first of all, monster nightmare isn't an expression. No one's like, oh, I had a monster nightmare last night. So you just made that up. And second of all, talk about a monster nightmare as a tagline could relate to any book in the series. They all feature monsters of some kind, except How I Learned to Fly and Why I'm Afraid of Bees. And be careful what you wish for. Lazy. Blurb reads as follows. He's got the basement blues. Don't do this, watch out for that. Marco's mum thinks the whole world is a danger zone. She won't even let Marco play softball, but Marco just wants to have fun, so he sneaks off to a game. And that's when it happens. He gets hit in the head with a baseball bat. Now things are getting really fuzzy, really scary. Because when Marco gets home, he gets the strangest call from someone who says he lives in Marco's basement. Yeah, Marco, in like the second chapter, gets hit in the head with a baseball bat. And that sets in course the events of the rest of the book. Because two things start happening. One, he keeps getting contacted by this guy who says like, my name's Keith, I live in your basement. And he sees him a few times, he looks like him. You know, he calls him on a phone and like he hands him a letter or something. And that's really kind of cool. But what I find more cool is after he emerges from his concussion or whatever, these bizarre things keep happening, and then he keeps waking up again. He's in this constant fever dream for pretty much the whole book, where the reader isn't sure, and neither is the main character, what is real. Because every time he wakes up, you assume like he's awake for real this time. And it changes slightly each time. It's not like Don't Go to Sleep, where the rules are clearly established, and it's like, I fall asleep and I wake up in a different world. And, you know, he's the same, but like everything else is different, and he knows what's different. This one, every time he wakes up, he assumes everything's back to normal, but it never quite is. And like he'll have scenes where he's at the doctor's, and the doctor's like going to remove his brain in like a very matter-of-fact way, and his mum's like, yeah, we better do that just to be safe. And then he'll wake up again, and the doctor will be different. It's like, oh, that's right, you're the real doctor. I had the strangest dream. And then he'll wake up again and he's back in bed and he's like, oh, I already left hospital, didn't I? Really, really compelling story, actually. Like, surprisingly so. It captures this feeling, you know, if you've ever been like sick in bed and your dreams and your reality merge, and over the course of like a few hours, you're never sure what actually happened and what is real and what's not. It's sort of let down at the end, the final chapter. It's revealed that Keith is actually real, and these whole events, I think, were happening from his perspective. And that's kind of cheap. Like, Keith's mum's like, you know the drill, we're monsters and we live in Keith's basement and we can't ever be seen by him. So it's kind of cool that like Marco interacted with this thing that lived in his basement, but only in his dreams. But also the more interesting part is just the psychological aspect of it. And it doesn't really need that sort of ending at the end. I just liked, you know, him trying to like establish what was real and what wasn't, you know. And everything in the previous chapter you just read turned out to be a dream, but then everything in that is also a dream. One of the most interesting Goosebumps books. It really doesn't follow a lot of the conventions of the standard books in the series, and I really have to applaud it for that. It really is quite interesting. Very fast paced, read it Read it really quickly, and yeah, a real standout in the series, and for that I've got to recommend it. That's all for this week. Please join me next time, which I discuss Goosebumps number 62, and the final book of the Goosebumps original series, Monster Blood 4. In the meantime though, stay out of your basement. That's a different Goosebumps book. Stay out of your basement because I live in your basement, and please, stay spooky.